Nan Simonson, and I am about to make 2 soups from one base. Do you like cream of broccoli soup? Do you like cream of mushroom soup? Would you love to be able to eat them without all the fat that goes along with them? Well, I'm vegan. I don't eat dairy of any kind. So I was, on my channel, Nan Simonson, that's YouTube Nan Simonson, you'll find a recipe for fabulous tahini mustard dressing. It got 2,000 views the first day. That was from Chef John Nowakowski, who one of the people in my support group, I'm a health and wellness coach. I run a couple of support groups, but one of the people, Cheryl, came back from a 1-week retreat that she was raving about. Oh, Chef John Nowakowski was there making all of our meals. We were able to watch him cook. We were able to eat his food. We then went to exercise on the beach. It was fabulous. Anyway, because of her enthusiasm about the dressing, I did the dressing video. Then I did a deep dive into things that he's done, including an interview with Chef AJ in 2021. And he talked about his cream of broccoli soup that could also be a cream of mushroom soup. So again, deep dive. Ultimately, we ended up writing each other because Cheryl connected us. I had some questions and I got permission to show you his soup, and you're going to get his recipes. And so I'm going to begin. This begins with a simple broth and cream substitute, and I've seen it before in other recipes, and that is the cooking of a potato with onion and then savory ingredients. So I'm going to open this pot of boiling water, and I double the recipe. The recipe makes enough for 4 to 6. Well, I wanted the first recipe to be just the cream of broccoli, the second one to show you how we then incorporate mushrooms. And so this is it. His single recipe begins with 1.5 quarts of water. How many cups is that? 4 plus 2 is 6. And so I doubled that. So this is 12 cups of water. I've doubled everything, and you'll get the everything on the recipes. I have soaked here so they won't brown. Potatoes, Idaho potatoes, in other words, russet potatoes, and I'm going to cook them long enough to get them tender before I put in the broccoli, because the broccoli will be made tender within 5 minutes, and we don't want it to get overcooked, because what will it do? It will turn moss green. It will get it will lose that bright green that looks so pretty in a soup. So I had, the recipe called for 1 large potato, and I ended up with enough to double that. I used actually 3 medium potatoes because I didn't have the large. So I'm going to cover it. Oh, and I'm using a medium potato for each recipe, so I doubled that. I don't mean potato, I mean onion. And so what do I have cooking here? I have potato, onion, that's it. I'm going to cover it, let it cook until the potatoes are very tender. That will be about 15 minutes. And I'll get back to you, but let me start the mushrooms, because you're going to see how I can go from a cream of broccoli soup to a cream of broccoli mushroom soup. And I'll explain more about that in a bit. So I've heated a pan, and this one is a Scan pan. It's a Scandinavian version of a non-stick pan that has been well researched to be very safe. The mushrooms in this case are crimini. He likes baby bells. He likes shiitake. Shiitake are always wonderful. But this is what I had. And this is about 1/2 pound of mushrooms. And if you've cooked mushrooms before, you know what they do. They weep and they create their own broth. What he uses instead of salt is Bragg's aminos. Bragg's aminos is soy that has been fermented, and that's it. There's no additional salt, but it is, because it's a fermented product, it has sodium in it. And I'm going to put some of the aminos, and then we're going to cook it with the cover on so that we can very lightly brown after we cook them. I want it to be reduced, and then I'm going to deglaze the pan possibly with a little more of the Bragg's amino, and then you'll see what I'm going to do with it. So I will be back to you with the next step when the potatoes are ready. I'm back. Well, I just had a mishap. I thought I was being recorded and I wasn't. So let me tell you what I've done to this point, because I've used some of my ingredients and I can't go back. I first of all showed that the potatoes, let me grab a hot pad, that the potatoes were finished, and I added broccoli, and you can see that because I only cooked the broccoli 5 minutes, that it's still quite green. I also explained that when I threw the potatoes in and the onion, after I turned off the video, I added what I meant to show you, and that is some minced garlic as well as some cayenne pepper. It's all part of the recipe, so you'll see that, but I want to explain why you didn't see it then. When the broccoli cooked for 5 minutes, I took it out, put the broccoli, potatoes, onions, but just half of the batch in here, and added some miso paste. Miso is a way of getting a fermented product, which is very good for our gut, as well as a sodium that is actually not damaging to us, as opposed to sodium chloride, and it adds a lot of umami to a dish. So I explained all of that. This is what the miso looks like, and I'll be using the rest of it when I finish up, when I finish up with the mushrooms. Okay, and I'm going to, and I've been mixing this, I put vegetables in, just enough broth to come to the top of the vegetables, leaving the cover off, because I don't want it to explode with the pressure and steam. Now, this is the cream of broccoli and cheddar cheese. So I'm going to add just half of that brick of cheddar cheese, and it's non-dairy cheddar cheese. And no, this isn't something I would normally have, but when you look at total servings, it's you're not getting that much added fat. And yes, that's the problem with a lot of processed vegan foods. The added fat, the added salt, they're not ideal, but they come in handy sometimes. You could leave it out, and instead of using the cheese, you can use nutritional yeast. Test it, start with 1/4 cup, test, see what you think, and add more, a little bit more, see what you think. All right. Now, let's see what we have here. Oh, that is lovely. It needs more sodium. I'm going to add his favorite way, Chef John Nowakowski's favorite way of adding a little bit of a salty flavor and additional umami, and that's Bragg's aminos. And then what I would do is I would taste it and continue to adjust. I would probably now add some additional cayenne, and I may add some fresh pepper, and I would adjust it to what I like in a, oh, you know what, in a cream soup. That's delicious. As he said, this has been popular for years. Take a look. And I'm going to, I don't want to pour it out. Isn't that beautiful? I'm going to pour it into a pan. And now show you how we'll incorporate mushrooms into this. I don't even have to wash it. As Chef John told me, I could have made, instead of using the broccoli to make the mushroom soup and make it broccoli with mushroom soup, I could have used all mushrooms. In other words, an entire quart, 4 cups of sliced mushrooms that had been sauteed. But instead, we're going to repeat what we've just done, a mushroom soup with then sliced mushrooms, a broccoli soup with then sliced mushrooms in it. So let me get this in here. And this is what I did before you came on the or before I turned the camera back on. It's a noisy situation. And let me just go to my strainer. So you can play around with this base. As he said, we could have used, with this same base that we're calling the cream base, we could have added carrots and made a cheesiness that way, in terms of they're adding a little bit of sweetness, and then adding some, leaving the cheddar out and adding some nutritional yeast. I actually have a soup that's made that way on my channel. A zucchini cheese soup that's just delicious. And its base is just like this, but has some carrot. You could have made this with asparagus instead of broccoli. You could have made it with cauliflower instead of broccoli. All right, just a moment. What I'm attempting to do, I can do it this way. Oh, Nan. And what we're aiming to do is just, if you're wondering, well, how much broth do I use? Just enough to cover the vegetables. And I can add more if I want it to be thicker. The other thing that I did with the mushrooms is that I did add a little bit more garlic, or a little garlic to them when I was sauteing them. And I went out to my garden and picked thyme and chopped the thyme to go into the mushrooms. That was part of what he does. And, oh, it's on. I'm slightly thrown off because anyway, because I thought I had recorded it, and now I can't remember what I said on this one and what I said on that one, but we're gonna manage. Oh, and remember, I'm adding the miso to this as well. I used the other half of the miso for the broccoli cheese, and now I'm using miso for the mushroom. Look up Chef AJ Live and Chef John Nowakowski. They did a 2021 interview, and in that interview with this soup, he added part of the mushrooms back in and blended it, and then had some mushrooms that were fully intact, sliced but fully intact, to give the soup some texture. I think I'm going to do that. It would incorporate the flavor of mushroom beautifully, but do it either way. It looked good when he did it. I'm going to take just some of these mushrooms. There was also a little more juice when he did it. And I could have used more mushroom here. I only used a half of a pound. I could have easily used 3/4 of a pound, maybe even a pound, because they cook down to nothing. So in the description of this video, you're going to get the link to the interview with Chef AJ. You're going to get Chef John's website, and you will get a link to his food company, because he ships food. He cooks meals and ships food, and soups are one of the most important things that he does. And by the way, the soup freezes beautifully. I'm making a lot of it, and then I'm about to take off out of the country. We're going to Tahiti, and I will be freezing a lot of soups so that when I come home, I've got plenty of food while I'm acclimating to being back in the real world. Okay, so what does this taste like? I'll show it to you. It's a little more brown because of the mushrooms. Take a look. Ooh, 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 ooh. That's really good. Oh man. And one of the things that Chef Nowakowski recommended is that you add your miso with the fire off. Turn the fire off, add your miso, whip it into the broth, because the value of miso is that it has live fermentation. It has live bacteria, great for your gut. If you cook it, you've just killed the bacteria. It still has the umami flavor. It still has that wonderful tang of not only the sodium but the fermentation, but you've killed the bacteria. So what I'm going to do with this, let me show you. We're about to eat. My husband just walked in the door, and I'm going to pour, this is the mushroom soup. Pour this in and scatter some mushroom on top. Put a touch of green. How about a piece of parsley? And take a look. Isn't that beautiful? So thank you, Chef Nowakowski. Thank you for letting me share your recipe. Try the cheddar and the cheese, or try the broccoli with the cheddar. Try it any way you want, but use this base. Use this easy way of making a cream soup, and consider going to the retreat. Wouldn't that be fun? If you like what you saw, give me a thumbs up. Let me know what you think of it when you make it. And I hope to see you again on my channel. Have a great day, because I know I'm going to. Bye-bye.